everybody, and welcome to Skateboard Nation. My name's Dave Andrick. I'm the host of Skateboard Nation, and tonight our guest is Mr. Doug Marker from going all the way back to early mid-70s. Pretty much what he got the run on. But anyway, so let's dive right in. Let's start talking about it, man. Like you got into skateboarding,
right?
And tell me about your start.
And that starts way back, maybe like 5th grade, so maybe I was about 10 years old.
Wow.
My dad was a cabinet maker, so we had a full like wood shop at our house, you know. So I made my very first skateboard. Had Chicago trucks and the clay wheels, and I really, to be honest, I've thought about this before. Like I don't remember where I got those trucks or those wheels, the clay wheels, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I did have those, and yeah, we used to just try to like, you know, I'd do 360s, and me and my buddies would just skate around in our driveway because the boards weren't really fast, and we were barefoot, and the boards were maybe like 24 inches long.
Yeah.
And we had the truck so loose, we were little surfer kids, so we just did like crazy little turns just in the driveway, you know. Okay. We used to ride those clay wheels. You probably did too. Down until they get so thin they just explode, right?
The bearings would blow out.
And
that was my problem.
And you had to be like a little mechanic, you know. Back you had to, you know, you take that little cone apart with those bearings, you know. And the first time you do it, wherever you did it, driveway or a table, and all of those bearings go like flying everywhere. So your first lesson was like, oh, I got to do it on the carpet or get a towel or something, right? So funny. But yeah,
or just still BBs.
Adjusting all of those things, and yeah, that's funny. You had to be a mechanic to be a skateboarder.
Yeah, the good old days. But that's what we all did. So.
And I remember I really remember the first Cadillac wheels, urethane wheels.
Yeah.
I really remember that, and I can even remember now, like putting it together in the garage. And that first like push out into the driveway, just like,
okay, so
wow, right?
Okay, so your first wheels that came in, they were precision bearing, or you still had?
No, they were still
okay, ball bearing.
Yeah,
wheels. I remember those too, because that was what I had. You know,
and then you were like going to your girlfriend's house on the skateboard, right? You're just cruising down the street on that thing.
Dude, I was 13. I didn't have a girlfriend yet. I was also 4'2" at tops, man. So anyway,
I was a paper boy, so like I was roaming the streets, you know. So I knew everybody in every house and every girl to talk to. So
well, I had both the morning and the evening route.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, the Union, and I had the Tribune. So I'd get up at 4:30 every morning, go do the paper route, get home, go to school, get home, do the evening route, and then I'd go skate. So, but I always had money as a kid.
Yeah, you were a hard charger. I remember I made just enough money I had my parents like sign for a loan so I could buy a new motorcycle, you know. I would make the payment. That was all my money would always go to that.
And what motorcycle?
Wow,
I think the first one that I think they might have bought me first one, but the one that I paid on was like a Yamaha 100, like a 1972 or something.
Really?
Yeah, and I had a GT80 before that. Before that, I had mini bikes. I've had a motorcycle since I was 8 years old, my entire life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was out in Bonita. It was just nothing but super big hills everywhere. You know, you had to drive a quarter mile up a. Well, I mean, when I first got my paper out, there it is. When I first had my paper out, I had to take a bike, and I had a big Schwinn heavy-duty bike, okay? And then when I turned 15 and a half, my brother bought a motorcycle, and he didn't like it, and then he sold it to me for $100. It was a brand new Kawasaki 100.
Oh, sick.
And then I took off on that, and I did the route after that, so it wasn't so bad.
Oh, and they told us, like, you couldn't use any motorized, you know, vehicles.
Yeah, I know.
But when I was 12, on the only time I did the morning paper you must have did double duty on Sunday, right?
Sunday, yeah.
So my dad would let me take our Bel Air station wagon, 61 station wagon.
Yeah.
Because my parents were farmers, you know, they came from Nebraska. So when they were young, they were driving trucks for work and stuff like that. So that was the one like treat I had was like they would let me drive all the time, you know. Couldn't go to a concert, but I could get out on the road and drive a car. You know? So crazy. Take a 350 motor out there, kid.
All right. So anyway, let's talk about like your progression. Okay. So you did a lot of freestyle, man.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
did-
like everybody did, just in the street, trying to one up the kid down the street doing 360s,
right.
same thing. And then since I was a paperboy, I was probably 13. They put on a good sized contest at Jack Murphy Stadium down in Mission Valley.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I was involved in that, and the early people were there too, like Dave Good
Yeah.
was there, my buddy from school, and
We had a lot of
Ellen
guys.
O'Neill. She was no pro. She was just a girl skater then. She was.
Oh, there it is. That's a picture of it.
Yeah,
now.
yeah. My mom
Yeah.
shot that. That's cool.
I love it.
Look at cut off
Yeah.
jeans. Like that was.
Yeah, man.
That's Mission Valley.
And
Yeah.
and the best part about it is you were still skating barefoot.
Shoes.
Yeah, man.
And there's a picture. I don't know if you can see there. The picture later of me getting a trophy and my toes are all taped up with like white tape.
No, man, I didn't see that picture.
That's
I
funny.
see that.
Oh, my bad.
And then Chris Yandel was like the pro for that, to be like give it some kind of like value. And the funny thing about that was they had slalom, and I wasn't really like that good at that. But Dave Good was like, he was the bomb,
Super good,
super
yeah.
fast at that, right?
Yeah.
And his times were, he beat everybody all day, right? And then later people were like, race Chris Yandel, right? And Yandel was like,
I don't want any of that. Huh?
we don't want any of this little rocket. Hey, I got a career already. I still remember that. I was like, I think you would have beat him by Joe David. You probably would have beat him.
That's
Yeah.
funny, man. I don't know, man. I mean, I remember Good. He was awesome.
He was a good
So you guys
skateboarder.
had a lot of guys that went to that school.
Yeah.
Your high school.
There was
like,
4 or
you
5
guys-
of us, yeah.
You guys had a
Even
crew.
Chuck Webb went there. He was on GNS.
Yeah. I don't remember him.
I mean, he was a freestylist
Yeah.
guy. He's in that famous picture where they're all in that picture together there at the GNS skate shop. He's in that.
Okay.
But yeah. Me, Ron Hudgens, Dave Good, and Frank Mariscal. We called him Zappa.
Zappa.
Yeah, it was us 4 all the time.
So it's so funny because I thought Zappa ran with Martinez.
Yeah.
Really? Not at all?
Well,
Or they just
I mean, they
party
hung out
out?
probably a lot together,
Would they just party in the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I always remember seeing them in the, I think it was Dennis's little red Honda or maroon Honda.
Oh, yeah, he had a
Yeah,
Honda
the
car.
smoke would just be coming out the
Yeah.
windows, and I just look like, oh my
Well, I
god.
don't think Frank
So-
went to school much, but yeah.
Okay.
He was registered at our school.
Well, that's the case with some people.
Right.
They get lucky, I
I
guess.
still run in once in a while. I like text out, shoot him a picture if one comes up to him. He's like, "Oh, cool, thanks."
Oh, all right.
Still out there roaming around.
Good, man. No, I was just, just wondering how that crew went because I remember seeing those guys at like Home Avenue, and
And
they'd
we
all pull up.
Oh yeah, and I mean, way
know.
before that, we used to go to Massage Bowl, like out there, and I was like, "Oh, that's a kid from my school," and that was when I was in. Well, it was junior high for us,
Yeah.
not middle school, but yeah. I used to ride the bus out there. Like my parents would drop me off at school, and I would go up to the bus stop. I don't know how I knew where that pool was. I guess maybe Dave Good or somebody drove me out there. He was older.
Yeah.
But I knew if I went to Parkway Plaza, I could skateboard down and then go
To
down
the pool, huh?
Pool, yeah. And I'd go
Okay.
there all by myself. Like there wouldn't be anybody there early in
Yeah.
the morning. I mean, I could have like whatever. Anything could have happened. I could have got hurt.
Yeah. Shit.
And it was And I'd get back on that bus and make all the stops
Yeah.
all the way back to school and come out. No homework today.
Well, that's awesome.
Crazy stuff
All right.
like that.
Well, all right. So, I mean, was this the same kind of crew that was going to Carlsbad? Were you up there very
I
often?
only went to Carlsbad once or twice. Like I don't even know how I got there.
Okay.
But not really. I mean, then we skated. All of us skated Soul Bowl a bunch too at San Diego State. I mean,
Yeah.
that was an iconic
Right.
and incredible pool.
Yeah.
I mean, all like Jay and Tony's. A lot of their mag pictures and then their Who's Hots
Yeah.
and cover shots. That's the San Diego and Soul Bowl. That's San Diego State.
I got to skate that bowl one time. That was it.
I lived the first
Yeah.
time I went with somebody that had a car because we used to skateboard there.
Yeah.
I lived about 5 miles away from there. The very first time somebody had a car, I got knocked out. Like in that, and I got driven to had somebody to take me to the hospital. And here's the thing too. This is way that was before moving on.
Yeah.
And how I got knocked out, I always would tail tap if you're looking into the deep onto the left seat. And then I was going so fast, I guess one day I went in the air off of that thing and I landed in, and I was like, what?
Oh.
Like, and I was, no, I landed on the wall and rode down, and I was
Okay.
like, I was like in the air. Like, that was before there was aerials and stuff like that, you know? And then, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times in, I hung it on the top of the pool, and that was it. And they had, you know, and you were, I don't know if you remember how aggressive that waterfall was.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you had to, I mean, we were monkeys, and it was hard to get out of the thing.
Yeah.
So when I got to the ER, I remember the doctor, like, after I woke up, like, wow, how come you're like so beat up, you know? And I was like, well, those guys had to drag me up. They had to throw me over a fence, and then put me in a car. You know, I woke up in that thing. Yeah, it was.
Man,
that was a good time.
That's getting knocked out, man.
Yeah, I was out. Yeah. No, you know, there was no such thing as safety gear, right?
Yeah. Not really.
We just started wearing shoes.
Yeah.
I don't even know if we,
That's right.
I don't even know if we had good grip tape yet. We might have saw that rubber tape.
Yeah, the rubber marine stuff.
And you just put like one strip on there.
Yeah.
And I had a homemade skateboard in there too. I always had the homemade skateboard. Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah, I mean,
what was the first board you bought? You remember? Or were given?
I mean, I remember way early somebody like handed me off a Bane that was already all beat up a little bit. And I was like, oh wow, like a factory board, but they just weren't as good as the skateboards I could make. So you know, after the thrill of that was over, I went back to making skateboards. What's that? Oh no. I never held on. I wasn't one of those guys that held on to stuff. I still in that way give it away. Or like,
I know, I did too. I gave everything away.
I'm not a collector, you know.
Yeah, but yeah, it was just, it was still a lot of fun back then, no question. Okay, so let's see, moving on.
Moving on was a dream. I share this with people. I mean, you know how this is. You know, now they're like, oh, there's open skateboard here, and they're like, oh, that one sucks. Whatever, right? Right. It's a whole different climate. Yeah. But I mean, this was the second skate park ever built on the planet, right? And it's in, you know, here's my paper out. There's a skate park. Yeah. And when they were digging that thing, I remember just being in the parking lot, like, I still can remember that feeling of like, are you kidding me? Like, we're gonna have a skate park like right in my neighborhood. It was so awesome. Yeah, I mean, anybody that skated there, all the guys, you know, all the GNS guys and other neighborhood friends, whatever. I mean, I'm sure everybody loved their first skate park, but that thing was just. That was just so awesome.
It was the right after Carlsbad.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And there was probably like the next week there was probably 5 other ones built too. But and I tell people like skateboarding is an amazing sport in that everything they do the first time is like pretty on point with no direction, you know? Yeah. And they've even gotten away from that with the skate parks because like moving on. You know, they had 1, 2, 3 runs in a reservoir. Right. And that would facilitate like, I don't know how many kids, let's say 100, right? Yeah. But it was almost like a ski slope, right? Like you know, other than you didn't go up on a ski lift. But we'd all, you know, and one person went, you know, whatever run you wanted to go, you went, then the next person went. And everybody was always moving. And then when you were done, you were like coming up, watching your friends go down. And you would move all of these people all day long. You like massage them in there. Yeah. Whereas nowadays we have these, and the skate park was tiny. And now you have these big footprint skate parks and you have like 2 or 3 features, and everybody stands around and like, you go. Yeah. You go. The freedom is just, it's not the same free feeling.
Well, yeah. One thing I remember, because I was at Home Avenue all the time, and honestly, again, Doug.
God, you must have seen me there. I was always there.
Yeah, I was there as much as I possibly could. Yeah. And I always saw Mikey there. Mm-hmm. Lieris was there, like, I think almost every day.
He was really a good, I mean, he stood out, looked man. Good. Yeah, right?
He did, man.
He was little and had the hair. I mean, he just right? I mean, he was like, if you were going to draw some, like, 70s cool, long-haired, semi-looking rock star guy flowing through a run, this was the guy. And he really did look good. Yeah, no doubt about it.
And he ripped. He was, one of the strongest top 10 guys, skaters there. I'm going to say top 10.
Absolutely.
You know, because there's so many guys that were pretty much at the same level. But, you know, I remember dropping in and going through, and there'd be like 8, 9 of us going through the snake runs.
And those were tricky.
Yeah, I guess there were snake runs.
Yeah.
You know, there was the bank runs.
The bottom was like what? Yeah, 12 inches wide. I mean, you went down, you went up. Yeah, like, and I bet if that was there now, we would
be loving it.
We'd have a little difficulty at the first run. Yeah, I mean, you had to go. I mean, you had to. Yeah, people will go like, how can we like go front side car or back side? Like so easily. I go like, Hey man, when I grew up, it was boot camp. You got thrown into that first turn, you were going left or you were going right. There was no like, oh, I'm gonna go the way I can go the easiest. You know, we were just shoved down those runs. You know.
Yeah. No,
yeah, I have such good memories of there. Such a good time, and like I told you, riding the owner's Monte Carlos, and like, I mean, that none of that's happening.
The
anymore,
Fox,
you know?
man, the Fox,
Silver Fox,
the Silver Fox.
Yeah,
that owned that park. Yeah,
you know, and
I think he's from Texas. It just seemed like
he owned Butterfield Ranch up north.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he owned that.
Butterfield Ranch.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah, he owned that.
Wow.
Oh, he was something, that guy.
Yeah, he was
tanning salon.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time. Tanning salon.
I think I remember his wife's name. So funny.
That's okay. So where did you get sponsored at? Tell me about your. Okay, that was okay. So
first sponsor was I got sponsored by Moving On Skate Park.
Okay.
I was part of the skate park team. You know, there was me, Frank Mariscal, Dave Good, and Ron Hudgens, and Mikey was I don't think on GNS yet. Us five. I know, you know, and Kevin Wright. We all, except for Mikey, all went to the same school.
Okay.
They were all the same little crew. And then the GNS guys came in, and Steve Cathy was the, I guess,
resident pro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I never. The one thing I do know about, I remember all of the times in the skating, but what was ever going on, though, I never could figure that out. I still can't, like, I was in that thing and I was in this contest. But I never remember like knowing when I was never knew the criteria. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, we just go. Like, that part I was always so lost. Where if we were going to traveling to a skate park, all I knew was I got in a van.
Yeah.
And I got out of a van.
Didn't say shit. Just went.
Like even later, you know, when Mike Williams would take me far, you know, he'd talk to my parents like, oh, you know, hey, I'm taking your son. They're like, oh, thank you very much. And then when we got in the van, it was like that 8-track we going in with like, is this the same guy that was talking to my parents?
Yeah, I know.
So far out. You know?
I was in that van. Yeah.
And I can't find any photos of that van.
No.
Like I searched the internet, like it had that going Phoenix thing on the side. Yeah.
I still talk to Walt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm still in contact with Walt.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and that guy helped me out more than anybody in the industry.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, he was awesome. But, okay, so...
Oh, yeah, so I went, the question was, what did I write for? Like, so moving on skate park, and then they opened Spring Valley, and then because they had that pool, I was like...
Yeah.
I don't remember the first time seeing somebody skate a pool. It must have been at Massage Bowl. But I mean, I was all in, man. Like those scenes were intense. Like going back to that, like at Massage Bowl, I mean, I was learning to skate there, so I would go when nobody was there, you know, or like I said, ride the bus out there. But when those sessions would be going on, whatever days those were, probably the weekend, and you've seen, you know, and you were probably a part of those as well. There was so many kids, like from everywhere. Like, I mean, I was from far away, and I was there, and I was just. I mean, trying to get over the light, right? And you know who was a standout there? Two guys. Russ Gosnell.
That's who I saw skate there. Dude, he ripped that. He killed that place.
He was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was Hulk Hogan of the skate park. He had the blonde hair, and he was short. Then he was shorter, and he was all buff, no shirt. And he was just like I don't even know who this guy is. This is Russ Gosnell, right? With his rocket skateboard. Yeah. He would get in, and I'm out of here.
It's time to watch.
He was riding the shallow, and he was so aggro, and like, you know, I saw him like years later, like, you know, like at Foods, right? And I'm like, you know, he was a little guy. Yeah. Like, yeah. But I mean, he was an intimidating dude, right? And he was like 10 years older than everybody else.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, actually, he was probably 3 years older than everybody else.
He was older.
Yeah, he was.
He was like 30.
Oh, he was probably
in the first test. I looked at those ages.
Oh, really?
He was a lot older. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you know else who ripped there, and like, I hope he hears and sees this, because this guy, before there were skate parks and there were just backyard pools, was David Paul.
Oh yeah, David Paul. Yeah, red hair. Yeah. Dude, yeah, David Paul ripped.
He ripped the Massage Bowl.
Yeah,
ripped it.
Well, I can tell you, he also ripped the Home Rule pool. That's where I used to go. That's where I saw. And then in Spring Valley, he used to go down there and terrorize that place.
He was good at Soul Bowl too.
Yeah,
those backyard, or you know, like whatever backyard scene, when I was involved in that before there were skate parks, that was a whole nother animal going on back then, you know. And a lot of those guys like Russ, he and Paul, David Paul, they were in their first Hester, but the pools were, you know, you saw the changing of the guards. Like these guys were like killers, man, in these backyard pools.
Yeah.
And I was just getting it together and finally kind of got going pretty good at solo because it was a bigger bowl.
Yeah.
But, you know, then when they did the skate park pools were so more forgiving that then there was these, it was already happening where they were learning, people were learning to skate pools in a skate park.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and I seen that with guys that were already pros then. I go, and they were good because they had talent and they weren't free learned to something else, you know? So it was interesting to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like getting back to David Paul, like, I mean, if you're seeing this, I got to give you props, man. Like, I still brag about you to people how like gnarly you were in those backyard pools.
Yeah, I remember him. I think I mostly remember him from Hummel. It was the first time that I believe that I ever saw him skate. And then I remember him showing up at Spring Valley when I worked there as a little grum kid.
Yeah,
You know.
at a massage bowl, I mean, he would go around and like, I mean, this is early stuff, right?
Yeah.
He would come around and go up that hip next to the stairs there, which was like a or nose dragger just to go up, and he'd get on the coping in like a little bowl and come back down that. And I mean, it was years later before I saw people like riding shallow ends, and Russ and him, they were already knocking it out way back then. I mean, there's only guys like us that can share those stories. You know? I mean, there's no internet and there's no iPhone.
Yeah, there was nothing back then.
There were some gnarly dudes that like literally stopped, or not much longer after like skate parks opened.
Yeah,
but they were.
Yeah, he was
the
definitely
kings of those backyarders, man.
Yeah. David Paul, that guy destroyed stuff, and he skated. He was aggressive, kind of like a Mike Weed, before he was down here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
he was like able to ride up anything, and that I'd never seen like that before. He was an impressive guy.
It's funny, you know, because I think it's awesome. I know there's a couple other guys that I can't think of, but once I hear their names and stuff, I'm like, oh, I remember him, you know. But I definitely remember David Paul. That guy destroyed stuff, no question about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he never pursued or kept going or, you know, kept it going.
I mean, I didn't ride that long either, to be honest. I mean, I think he got rubbed a little earlier than I did, you know? Where you just kind of go like, because, I mean, to be honest, we were in like such a magical time, you know, like take the first Hester contest at Spring Valley.
Yeah.
Now, how many people did you even really know then, you know?
Yeah.
That were at the contest?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe 5 or 6 people were already in the magazine, like George Jordan could, oh, this is a guy that could do an air. Right? Yeah. And then Howard Hood, oh, he can do a backside air. And I'm like waiting his final, like, I can do one too. Like, hey, we're gonna do this. Like, but to be honest, there wasn't too many. I mean, if you look at the
you look at the amount of people that are here.
Yeah.
There's nobody.
Well, and that's
at practice, because when that contest was going on, that you couldn't stand over there.
I was still riding those Phoenix trucks.
Those are Phoenix.
They gave me the other trucks the day before the contest. The pros.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't turn the same as those. They're a little slower. Those things turn pretty fast.
But it was such a different truck.
Yeah, 100%.
But getting back to what I was saying, like I remember like I said, you can look at the list of people like Brad Bowman. The people that went on to be like,
I have the list here.
Yeah, superheroes of skateboarding because of the amazing magazine shot coverage that they got. So, you know, all of the world except for the little intimate bubble that we're all traveling in just sees that, right?
Yeah,
and they were taking amazing photos and stuff.
I mean,
but like you didn't know anybody, right?
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like there was even names I was like, oh, I've heard of that dude. Like it was so cool how back then, you know, with no internet, but just the talk through skater talk all the way from LA. There's this guy. There's this dude that can in there. I'm like, there's that dude. There's that guy. That's when I met Steve Alba. You know, then you know he wasn't Alba yet.
Yeah, Steve Alba.
You know, he had his headband on, his little fro, you know. Hi, I'm Steve. And I was like, and he was kind of like, didn't have a crew like, and even though I was my local hangout, I didn't either. Everybody else was like teamed up, so I was always just my own guys.
I know, I remember.
I hung out with, you know, when he first got there, we like became like buddies like that. And I am going to say this, and I've already checked this out with Steve Alba about a year ago, all the way back. And I always thought like, maybe I remember it wrong. So that day I meet him, we're all skating, you know, and he goes, hey man, he goes, you're like a lot better than everybody here. Like, and I go like, well, you know, I skate here all the time. He goes, yeah, you're like, I don't see why you wouldn't just easily win this, right? And I was like, hey, I don't know, right? And then like I fast forward, I still remember him being out in that dirt parking lot, and his buddy, I still remember this for some reason, his buddy had a yellow Toyota 4-wheel drive pickup. Yeah. And he's like, check it out. And he had his check, like his, what was it, $1,000 check. Yeah. I won, and I was standing right behind him going like, this guy that says like, oh, he got this, like he won, you know? Yeah. I was like, and then I share, you know, like, because Lance Mount was doing a documentary, so I was like, oh, do I want to say that or not? You know, like, I don't want to, like, God forbid, some riff in the skating community, right? Yeah. So I had messaged him through Instagram, like, hey, you know, it's been a long time, but, you know, do you remember blah, 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 this and this and this? It was pretty classic. Yeah. And he answers, he goes, well, you know, I remember my dad saying, follow the rules, just follow the rules, and you'll do okay. Yeah. And he did, like, they said 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
You know, to me, it's like, it's your turn. Okay, well, I show how good I am, and I win. Yeah. That's so hard. You know, and I was like, solid, boom. And I remember finishing my first round. They're like, you got another minute. Yeah. So I was like, and you're kind of gassed, you know, you're like, it's intense, right? Your first time of doing this. So I run up there again and like basically do my run again, you know, but there's that time elapse there. And you know, it's Steve being the machine he carved and kick turned for his 2 minutes until they were like time, and they went money on this. And he told me that, so getting back to my story. So he tells me, he goes, I just did, you know, my dad said, follow the rules, you're going to be fine. And he goes, and I had a lot of, and he tells me the story, like, it has nothing to do with my question that I asked him. He goes, you know, and I was from Upland and had big terrain and I had good cardio. And he's going on, and then I'm like, there's a little, like, it's over? And then I scroll up, there's a blank, and he goes, yeah, I remember that. He goes, go ahead and tell him whatever you want, it's cool. I still like have it on my phone, so I'm like, oh, classic. Yeah, because it'd been so long at that, and I've seen him since, and we've skated like some parks and backyard pools, and I never asked him. I'm like, I'm not bringing that up. It's just too weird, you know. But I was like, he remembered. He remembers that pool better than I do. He's like, I had a kink over here, and this part over here.
Which school? The kink hole in Spring Valley?
Yeah. He said like off to the left when he was talking, man. And I remember it was a little different wall there, but he remembered all that.
Oh, the right wall had a big kink in it.
Oh, it was the right one?
Yeah. If you were dropping in, the right wall had the real kink in it.
Oh, and then, well, in that first contest too, you know, they had the wheelers and the carpet. Yeah. You know? And the funny thing about that wheelers thing, and I think back, kind of like, well, what's your deal? Like I said, like I never really was like that clued in on what was going on. I was like, whatever, I'll go, and I go, you know. And then my buddy Adrian, that I told you earlier over at Moving on Skatepark, he was kind of the older guru guy. Right? Yeah. I saw him pull up in the parking lot across the street, that Kmart, you know, that Kmart parking lot. Yeah. So you had to go across that big road, right? Yeah. I ran over there because I knew he had some weed, you know, and I was like, I'm gonna get high before there's still some time left. And I was over there, like we were like in kind of in the middle of it, you know. I hear on those crazy horn speakers, Doug Marker not doing the wheeler. I think the wheelers was the first thing we did. And I was like, dude, like I gotta go like now. I'm like, I remember running across the street, running in there, and you know, like you're running too, like, and I put my board down there, like, all right, go. Yeah. Here we went, and I didn't even finish. Gave us a minute. I did 25, and I could have done 2 more, but I was like gassed and spun out, you know. I'm like, oh, whatever. And son of a gun, that stuck, you know. Yeah. It made it. Yeah.
First place.
You two had that same. Now up so and so. You guys are.
I'm not even close.
One is in the car parking lot. You guys had to run.
I wasn't even close.
That's fun.
I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, we all had that.
I remember like coming in and people like looking like, are you serious? Is this guy really coming in from over there? Yeah, we rolled right in. Go, Doc Marker. So funny. I mean, the reason that I was able to do more of them too, I mean, maybe I was a little faster, is I did a wheeler on the first wall, and everybody would do a setup wall. And I was like,
yeah, because I think second place was 24. And then there's a couple of people at 23, and
then there was a runoff for second.
Yeah,
and Steve Cathy ended up doing 27.
Yeah,
so he did more than me.
Yeah.
And it's typical, like, okay, so if we have the magazine here, you'd be like, all you see of me is that little shot, and then I'm in the stand, first place in this, and then there's a big write up on how Steve comes back at second place and does even more than the first place guy. Like that's like the big story. Like, okay, you know how it was back then. You're like, how is this happening? Right? So funny.
Yeah, that stuff happened a lot, man, because nobody knew what we were doing.
Well, and
like even they didn't know what they were doing.
And the people, I mean, and to be fair, the people that were putting the magazine together, right? They knew certain people, so it was easier for them to write about them too, right?
Yeah.
So they want to write about this guy. There's that guy that ran him from across the street.
Come on, man. Yeah, right. You sit there. Yeah.
Look, no wonder he looks all tired. What was he thinking?
It's funny because at that contest, I was sitting just a little bit, standing just like almost right where you are. I was down just a little bit, standing there watching. That's where I was, from the left side of the shallow end, on the dirt right there by the fence.
That was a fun contest though. That was just a good time. Oh, and you know what else was interesting is there was 4 contests in the series.
Yeah.
So the first one, everybody's kind of like, I don't know. I even talked to Howard Hood just 2 weeks ago about it because I saw him at the Bible Bowl.
Okay.
And he goes, yeah, that's me too. Like, I don't know. Like, hey, we're here, right? And everybody's just like, hey. And then Upland's like, oh, wow, this is pretty big terrain. And everybody's kind of like, still like, wow, like, throw in the mix. But then by Newark, big different vibe. And everybody's like practicing, and I can see the clothes, all more sponsored looking guys. And everybody's like, hey, let's go. Like everybody was cooler by then, you know? That was kind of good to see. I go, like, everybody's kind of like settling into being like pro skaters, you know? So
did you were riding for Goldwing at that time. That was the only sponsor. So they were flipping your bill. They were paying your entry fees and getting you to the contest. And I was sort of riding for Bellar boards because they would force me to ride those boards. And I was like, horrible. Really? Yeah. And then, well, then.
Was this before or after Bellar?
That's before the Hester contest. Even they did that ad, and I'm riding like a homemade skateboard there, solid like maple skateboard that I made in the garage, and that's on those Phoenix trucks too. Yeah. Look at you're sponsored. Here's a pair of trucks and 2 T-shirts. You know, like all right, I'm in. Hey, that's it, right? That's what I got. Jumped in. That. I think out of like my whole career going for 3 or 4 years, I think I got maybe 4 pairs of trucks. Because you see never. Those GNS guys, and I think like 2 of them sweatsuits on. Yeah, I know. Like, super dope. Like those sweatsuits, man. To this day, I go like, those things are so pimp. They were so like, they're kind of shiny red, like with a white stripe or probably the yellow stripe on the side. And they were yellow jackets and oh my god. Yeah, those guys had it, man. And when I first met them, they had all that. And I was that kid jumping over that chain. Yeah. With the cut off jeans. Yeah. That was me. Hey, I get it, man. I was the same boat. But, those guys were cool. Like, I mean, Steve was always super nice and super supportive of me. And even in articles. Well, didn't you end up riding for Yo-Yo, too? Yeah, I get it. He told me I did, like, about a month ago. I told you a month ago. You know what I mean? Yeah, you were on the team. He would give me, like, Yo-Yo wheels. I'm like, oh, cool, yeah. And then later, like, at get-togethers 40 years ago, well, you were sponsored by Yo-Yo. I'm like, okay. That's good to know. Well, I'm going to add...
You get your wheels and a T-shirt?
I got wheels, but, yeah. Those wheels were amazing. Yeah, those were. I mean, that wheel was like the bones of its time. Right? Yeah, like, absolutely. I mean, dude, that thing is. Oh man, I mean.
They came out at the same time as the Slim Snakes.
Yeah, pretty much. They were already sort of like modern wheels are now. I mean, it was way different. Yeah. And I mean, you put those on, and it was. They were fast. They were good wheels, man. Right? Yeah. Those were white ones when I. I'll give it to them. They had really, really good wheels. Yeah, yeah. And their shirts were really cool. Oh, they had great logos, man. They had all the cool clothes. I remember always skating because I mostly skated with Lane, And he was rad. He was like the big brother on the team, like super nice. Yeah. He was super cool. Yeah. I remember just, like once in a while, like sitting down with him, like we'd be whatever time of day and nobody be at the park because we were always there. We just sat down on the reservoir in the shade, like just talking. He was such the down to earth, nice guy, just like he is now. Yeah, he hasn't changed. He's super cool, yeah. And Steve was always super nice and supportive of me, and even in interviews he did not too much later after that in the '70s, he said nice things about me, and interview and stuff, like brought it up things, and he would drive me around. He used to pick me up in that truck.
Yeah.
That
The red,
yellow
yellow.
and red.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I mean, like, he's like so far ahead of like the curve, right? You know?
Yeah.
And he would take, hey, I know where a backyard pool is. Even like, we go check out stuff, and I had to go skating with him, you know?
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. But, okay, so let's see. So we're in Spring Valley. We've got the contests going. You're off to, what was it? Upland?
Oh, yeah, the next one was Upland.
Yeah, next one's Upland.
That was the same thing. I probably got there the day before. Mike would never we wouldn't get there that.
Yeah, he had to work.
Well,
Right?
I don't know. And here's the thing too: is I remember being there. Maybe it was the day before. I get dropped off at the skate park. I don't have any money or nothing.
Yeah, right.
I guess I ate breakfast before we get there, and then it's dark and everybody's leaving and
shit.
gone. Right? I'm like, what the heck? I'm just.
Wait a minute.
They're gonna close this place. Like, I don't even remember getting.
This is at Upland?
Yeah, Upland.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember where we stayed there, but yeah. But I do remember when we got there, I went over to the edge of that bowl, like we were going to have a contest in,
Yeah.
out of the pipe. And I was like, are they going to get bigger than this? I've never been here.
Yeah.
Like, this is pretty big. Is it going to keep escalating the size of these? And there were some standout moments at that too. Like, Tay Hunt.
Tay Hunt?
Oh, this guy, there's a guy too that only myself and you and Sal, those the Badlander guy, they really support how rad he was back then. And I remember being on the edge of that bowl, and he rode at the time a little bit longer board.
Yeah.
And he came whipping around and did a backside area, not scooping it up like I would do. He went woof, past me, and I was like, whoa, dude! These guys they were acclimated to this land of giants, you know. And he would just float in that pipe, just ballerina in there, you know. And I was under just going and they have that round top, and you're like, how do I even function in this thing, you know? And they took me to a couple of backyard pools. They kind of like Sal and some people, they kind of in Blackheart, they kind of took me in a little bit, me, or whatever. So they took me to a couple of backyard pools, and one of the backyard pools we went to, it was probably a kidney shaper, kind of like the massage bowl that had a round deep.
Yeah.
First time I ever saw this. And Tay Hunt was in there too, right? He had that cool, long, straight hair, skinny guy.
Yeah.
He was like Mikey Lear's kind of how he had his own
super
thing.
style, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
He was just come on, first guy I ever seen, there was a ladder on the left. I mean, I can still see it right now. Because you're dude, maybe I should just quit right now, you know? This guy in the contest. And he went in and backside carve and just cruised right around and went carved right over that ladder. And then I skated a lot of backyard pools, but I didn't see anybody knocking out big flow lines like this, right? I mean, I see guys get up and get back over it, but not spiraling over it. That stayed with me. I was like, this guy's something, man. He won the contest. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tay.
That was a rough contest for me. I was that was it's a weird setup and the full pipe, you know, and just so much to get used to, and the lumpiness and the round top. I mean, that was and then it's 45-second run, you know.
Yeah. Right. It's come down from 2 minutes to 45 seconds.
Probably would have been a little different.
Yeah.
First contest, if the time was less, who knows? But you know. And then getting back to that, people go oh, Salville. I go but let's be honest. This guy skated since that day I met him with his red headband on.
Yeah.
Till now.
Right.
Dude, I took a 2-decade break. I mean, this guy drained 1 million pools, and so it wasn't that was his one day in the sun. You know what I mean? He earned it, dude. I mean.
No, man, Salvo was.
He's worked the trenches, and I've skated with him in the last couple of years up at McVickers and up there. I'm he still cares about his skateboard, man. I mean, good for he's still
charges,
man. A few of those guys, Howard Hood, Supercharger, Lonnie, crazy talent, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, I go wow, you guys.
What's crazy is those guys are better. Much better now than they were.
Said it.
I said it. I told them to their faces. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you guys are killing it now. I know. Lonnie. I mean, Lonnie used to do some pretty good airs back in the day, but even today, man, he's muscling those things in the 13-foot bowl. You're like, that's respect, man.
He's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of
for
it,
sure.
man.
Yeah, he was at McVickers too.
Yeah.
And then Howard Hood, like up at their pet park where he resides up there.
Yeah.
You know, that thing's no picnic. Have you been to that thing?
No. I don't know if I've been there or not.
Humbling,
I don't know.
humbling. It's like
Where's
a
it at?
backyard pool, you know?
Where's it at now?
Built.
Where?
Where's that up there where they have all the ships go in and out?
In Long Beach?
Yeah.
Up in San Pedro area?
Yeah, San Pedro. There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Things.
at the park?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's at the park. Okay, I've been there.
It's a legit like backyarder.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know what
some
you're
little
talking
kids
about.
Can, like drop in on the shallow, but they all drop in on the side.
Yeah.
And he just.
Drops
I
in.
told him that at the Bible Bowl like a couple weeks ago. You know, and you had top-notch people there. Like we were there for Damon Dodge's memorial.
Yeah.
I mean, Savoy and Mount. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the best of the best that knows how to lay it down. Is there? You know, of course, there's some young guys that are like, that's a whole nother atmosphere. But
yeah.
But like Hood was just like, I was like, dude, this guy. And then he would go over the shallow and stairs a couple times and lose it. I mean, and go down hard, you know. I'm like, this guy's really like laying it on the line, you know. It's cool. Like, I know you're good.
Yeah.
No, they're like, he's doing it, man. I'm like, I told him, like, I'm proud of you guys. You guys really like, that's.
I remember saying that to
tough,
Steve
man.
Elbow at I think his 42nd birthday. He had it at the skate park up there, and he was just still destroying it. I was just like,
Oh, yeah, he's
man.
still super solid, yeah.
So, anyway, but.
And I mean, and I've skated some backyard pools with him, and I mean, man, that's some talent, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Spaghetti noodles he can like roll out of that thing. I mean, yeah, I mean, like, dude, like that. He's defying.
It's the trucks.
Physics.
No,
That's right.
It's the trucks. Ask anybody. No. Yeah, no, he definitely destroyed it. Okay, so do you remember how you did at that contest? Where at Upland?
In the Upland one?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Not at all.
All right.
I remember this.
Okay.
This part I remember back in Spring Valley. They had like an A-frame and they had like the standings.
Oh, yeah,
They had the wheeler thing there too, right?
Yeah.
And I thought too, like, I was always like really good at tight backside kick turns, like whipping those things out. And I thought too, like, I'll probably like I could ace this thing again, right? So it wasn't like a real round bowl, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't practice like doing wheelers. I'm who's going to do that?
Yeah.
I get made fun of, like, you're going to practice wheelers. So I start to do a couple, and I guess I get off of like the rotation. I'm not really hitting. So and then I go like, and then it like fades out onto that weird wall, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like a mess. And I'm like, like, I know, like, this is shit show. Right? And I remember being like, thinking like nobody's even around. Even like, I was so like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, this is all I'm going to have at this contest, you know? And I shot my board. Like, I was pissed. I shot it down like for sportsman.
Yeah.
Totally. But I was in the moment. I was like, oh man. I remember the thing going flying up past everybody, like, whoa, like, and was it Charlie Ransomware? He was an older guy.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of monitoring who. Oh yeah, good sportsmanship, Marker.
I'm surprised you didn't kick your ass.
Yeah, like, and I rolled out to the parking lot and had to like regroup. I was like, oh, you know, like, I'm in over my head with this, you know. Was that?
Yeah,
This is after Hester.
well, actually, no. That's right before the finals that were at Big O. So that was after 3 contests. You were tied for 10th in the overall points.
Look at all the Hall of Famers that are.
Oh, I know, man. And that whole
You're
list,
above.
it's incredible of all the skaters that were in at that time. And like some guys in that list, I didn't even know ever skated. And I was like, oh my God, they were in that? So,
Yeah. Oh, totally. Especially in the first one.
yeah.
You know, that dude was in there.
Chuck Cassidy's in this at 18.
Yeah.
I'll see.
Yeah, I was shocked on seeing some of that stuff, I have
and
to
speaking,
say.
like, and Daryl Miller was in those contests.
Yeah, Daryl was. Yeah.
So here's a funny one. Like, we go to Elgato, right? And like, hey man, like, hey, and after like a couple of Elgatos, like, because I didn't talk to him. And actually, the first one he kind of came up to me. I was like, oh, like, you remember who I am, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, the second or third one. He goes, you know what? I don't remember who you are. And like, I go, like, I was in all those pictures with you. Really? Like, and I go, remember you? Really? I was like, ouch. So funny.
Daryl is absolutely comedy.
That was
I'm
funny.
sorry. I'm really good friends with him. I talk to him all the
Oh,
time.
nice.
And he Okay, here's a funny little story. So, okay, I don't know. I don't care. I'll say it. So he invited me. He invited me over to his house about a year ago. Okay, and another skater was coming. Okay, and he called me up and he goes, "My girlfriend's bringing over her girlfriend who's dating a skater." He goes, "But I don't remember him." And I'm like, "Well, who is it?" "A guy named Gary." I'm all, Gary.
Yeah, right.
Gary. Okay. Atchison?
Oh,
Do you remember that name? I go,
Kazoo?
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm like, you don't remember Kazoo? He goes, oh, he goes, I don't remember him. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then when he came in on the show, and well, Kazoo beat him and I at the Arizona contest. And Kazoo got 4th place there. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
But-
I was quite a bit higher in the standards than like Daryl in those contests, you know. But I was like,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, well, Daryl.
We got the flip.
He might have been across the street with you and you didn't know it.
He did, you know, he went on and skated longer and, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
Miller for a living on that. But,
Yeah.
And like Kyle's like, oh, Daryl Miller, this and this. And I'm like, but he skated with a different Daryl Miller than I skated with, you know.
Oh, really?
Well, the same Daryl Miller, but I'm saying,
Oh, okay. I got
you know, by
I
then,
gotcha.
you know, some of these guys,
He progressed.
they're well
a lot.
deserving, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because they, you know, that next year, if you stayed in, you progressed a lot more. I mean,
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
up against Eddie Alguero and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You better get something going. Or you're in the parking lot.
We were out in the parking lot.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
You're in the parking lot.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Parking lot
No,
in,
'cause
parking lot in.
I think if Hester won, I don't even know where Daryl's name was on that list as far
He
as
was
that
in it, though,
goes.
yeah.
Yeah, no, he was
There was,
definitely
you know, in I witnessed a lot of firsts, you know, and I believe they actually were first at those contests, like first Roland,
Yeah.
Doug Schneider,
Spring Valley.
right?
I did it that same day. Yeah. That's when I got picked
There
up
was
on
also a
Sims.
guy that went after Pedro Barros over that middle thing.
What?
Pedro did it first.
Wait a minute. Huh?
No, I'm just saying.
No, man. I was like,
No, I'm just saying, like,
I
but
watched
he was
that.
first. So,
And
yeah.
that was the most amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I have like 3 tricks that I completely remember that just blow my mind. Oh, okay.
16th.
He was at 16th, Daryl Miller was. Anyway,
Yeah, that was gnarly, right? I mean,
were you there that day when Pedro did that?
Oh, no,
At
no.
Upland?
I'm just saying.
Oh.
That's, see how gnarly that is? But
I
he's
know.
the first guy.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm saying,
absolutely,
like,
man.
well,
Absolutely.
Doug was the first guy.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Like, there's a line,
Yeah.
a list after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that first guy, you know, of course, he's going to stand out. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that was, and to like, I mean, I guess he tried it somewhere else before, but like, wow, that was like,
Who, Barrios or who?
no,
Daryl?
we're talking about
Oh.
Doug Schneider.
Oh, Doug Schneider.
I mean,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
really like,
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's like
nobody's doing that.
Wasn't Tay Hunt did the first rock and roll, right? Wasn't it Tay
Tim
or was
Marding.
it? Oh, Tim Marding. That's right. Long blonde hair that
Yeah.
threw me off.
And
That's
then
right.
I believe, I mean, some people said that he landed that invert before Newark, but I don't know. Like, I heard that was the first time he ever landed one was
Who's that? Bobby?
Bobby Valdez, yeah.
Oh no, he did that before there.
And he was in the finals,
Yeah.
and he would do it right at the end of his run. And
Yeah.
I mean, that was the first time, I think, and like I said, it was different by Newark. Everybody was kind of like settled in and cool with their spot, not so like, you know,
Yeah,
I got to win. Oh my God. Like
Yeah.
everybody was kind of cool with where they were at. They were a little more seasoned pro guys. So, and myself too, I felt like a little more different by then, right? So I remember him doing that at the end of his run, and I was invested too. Like, dude, land this thing. He had almost landed, and like, oh.
Yeah.
And his last run, last time, last try, boom,
Nailed it. Game winner.
Yeah, that was rad.
Contest winner, man.
That was rad.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody was like, let's see this happen, you know, and not going like, don't make it. You know? I mean, if that had been a Hester, we're like, F this guy, throw some water in the bowl. You know? By then, you know what I mean? Everybody was kind of like cool with everybody.
Yeah. No. Well, I was going to ask that too, like what you thought at Spring Valley, what it was like being surrounded by all the top pros from San Francisco, Badlands, you know, San Diego
and
guys.
they
you
were,
know all
but-
them.
Right, but they're, like I said, you really only knew a half a dozen or 10 of them from the magazine. Like,
Yeah.
And they had only been in the magazine a little bit, other than like Pineapple or Dennis, because of Freestyle and other
Yeah.
things. They already had established names, right?
Right.
But I mean, Orton had a couple. There wasn't
Yeah.
that many. I mean, that was in '78.
Yeah.
So there was. I mean, there was like, you know, maybe Jerry Valdez had some pictures, or like but they were all pretty, like, it was vintage stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody was just kind of,
or most of those
green,
guys,
you know,
like a ton of those guys were doing bank slalom, and I remember going through all the magazines
like
from back then. It
Evans or
was all
whatever
like
did that, right?
racing, a lot of racing stuff, you know. So anyway, I was just curious on what it was like to do that, because I remember my first contest, man. It was, for me, just like looking around and seeing some of the guys I recognized
Yeah.
in the magazine.
Well, and
I didn't talk to anybody, man. My first contest, I said not a word to not one person. So
I do remember going, like, because I felt like kind of, you probably that way too. You're kind of on your own, you know. I mean, no parents were there, no nothing, right? You know, like, you're just like in those times, you know, you get dropped off and
Lord of the Flies.
yeah.
And I really remember going, like, I really felt good about myself. Like, hey, man, like, I'm in the mix. We're gonna do this. You know what I mean? And I had been in a lot of backyard pool, like,
sessions,
intensities.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I was kind of used to that. I mean, that's a hard pecking order to get through that already, you know.
Yeah.
So I felt good about it, and I skated there a bunch. So, I mean, if Upland would have been the first one, I would have been like, a timeout.
Oh, come on.
No,
That kind of separated the men from the boys.
Oh yeah. No,
And
cool.
Upland always was like that. Upland was the biggest, baddest park around.
It wasn't just that it was a large bowl. It was just, you know, it was just odd for me, you know, because it had that sloped in weird side thing.
Yeah.
And the pipe
You mean right out of the pipe?
Pipe was kind of way over there,
Yeah.
you know. So, and I never really would get a lot of practice at those things.
Yeah.
I mean, people hometown advantage, you know.
Absolutely.
But you know, I saw a lot of firsts and those things, like I said, like I told you about Tehum, that big area. I mean, it was
Front row.
Yeah.
You had front row to
was
see
like,
everything
boom,
first.
yeah,
It
yeah.
happened so quickly.
Yeah.
it happened so quickly that I didn't really. I mean, I've probably shared it more now as a, you know, senior citizen than like when we were kids, right?
45 years later.
Yeah, like, hey, remember that? Like, dude, there'll be kids at the skate park or people I skate with now. Like, I go, hey, look at it. They're like, dude, that's like amazing. I go, like, it was just how it was, you know. And other than me telling you, you're never gonna know.
Yeah.
Because it's not documented anywhere. Oh, and speaking of stuff like that, it was at the Newark contest is when all the Dogtown guys came.
Okay. Yeah.
And we actually, Shogo rode up with me and Stropel. There's another thing too, like, I don't even know who's going. Like, I get in the van, you know. Oh, we're picking up.
Oh, this is going.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
sorry. So we're picking up a couple of people, you know.
Yeah.
Get up by Del Mar, which I don't even know where that is at the time. I think that's far away. It's outside my paper route.
Yeah.
It's farther than I can ride my bike. And then we picked up Strobel because he was ongoing. I'm like, hey, we knew a little bit. I'd skate a little bit with him. Then we're driving, and then pretty soon we pull up at some house and whoever knows where, and like Shogo comes running out of the house. I'm like, we're picking up Shogo too? I mean, like, he was, you know, already a big Dogtown.
Yeah.
So we all drove up in that van together all the way up there. So that was pretty cool.
To Newark.
Yeah. And then we, you know, all the skaters pretty much stayed in one hotel up there.
Yeah.
Like everybody did.
Yeah.
So the mayhem that was going on, thing like on the hallways with the fire extinguishers, and you know, and the doing stuff to prank other people. That was nuts. But in the morning, I remember we went into Jay Adams's bedroom, and Wally was there, Tom anyway. I remember, like, he threw me with like one of his pool service shirts.
Yeah.
Like, because there was the cloak of God back then.
Yeah.
You get one of those, right? And I don't know who else is in there, 3 or 4 of us, and Jay's in bed, right? You know, I don't really know Jay.
Yeah.
I'm just meeting him there at this contest when he was still the little surfer, long-haired kid, you know?
Yeah.
So he's asleep in a bed. And on the wall, in like the whitest black felt pen, there's 2 lightning bolts that come down and point at his head. And it says Jay Adams on the. I'm like, are you serious, this guy? And he's just like, and he's not even awake. We're in there, he's like, this is classic.
Oh,
But like, that doesn't exist unless I like share it. You know?
That's right. Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot all about
I
it.
never heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
You know,
Right.
that's the beauty of this, you know, and I'm glad I get to do, I do this now because of these kind of stories, you know, and Jay didn't ride for Gullwing, so.
No.
You know.
He was just in the.
Yeah, just happened to be at the same
We all
hotel.
had to get on these shuttles to get to the skate park. You know?
Okay.
Oh, and there's kind of a famous shot at the Newark contest where Tony's coming up and doing his frontside grind, you know, looking cool with his Pepsi hat and all that.
Yeah.
And behind him is coming up Jay, like right behind, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're doing doubles at Newark. So before Tony's like not there, right? And Jay's like, hey man, let's do doubles.
Oh, nice.
And I never get to do doubles because like everybody's already set.
Yeah.
He's usually with Tony, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, this is good, right?
Yeah.
He goes, just go in and do his high backside air as you can. I'm like, we're gonna practice. I'm like, he goes, and then just do your run. I'm like, okay. So I go in and I go backside air, right? And I look down and he's doing one of his crazy slides underneath me. Yeah. And really at the time there wasn't too much of that really going on.
Right.
So I was like, this is gonna be pretty kick ass. You know, like and everybody's like, oh my God, like this. I mean, I was just kind of like doing the straightforward stuff. And he was just like, and you're just hoping he stays on because you're in the air and you're like, am I gonna land on him or is this gonna? And it was, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be pretty spectacular, right? Yeah. I'm like, cool, like me and Jay, like, hey, this is gonna be cool in the mag, right? Right before like the double thing like that, Pinto pulls up and door opens, all the smoke comes blowing out. Here comes TA. Yeah. And then not too long after, I'm just standing there like that, you know, like not too long after that, like Jay starts rolling over. I go like, I know. I saw him. He goes, all right, thanks, man. Thanks.
Oh man.
Wow.
That's when like Tony, we were still riding. Well, like that pool there, the coping stuck out a bunch and there was no tile, you know. It was like a poured deck, you know, kind of coping, super dry. And, and everybody had those little trucks. So it was hard to get on the coping. And there's like those cool pictures of black car like blowing dust off. So I remember like we were putting some washers on, just try to get a little more truck on there. So Tony shows up. He has a 10-inch wide board. Yeah. Nobody has that yet. Like, boom, here he comes. First full tracks. I mean, it's got like full tracks on it.
I know, man. I remember that.
What is he thinking? Like, what kind of a goofy setup is this, right? Because it's so like nobody's even seen it yet. Yeah. He goes in there. I mean, like he just crushed it. Like we were in two different worlds, right? The way he would grind because of that board, you know? Yeah,
absolutely.
I was like, this guy.
I remember that too.
By the next contest, you know, half the people had big boards and it was already just that quick, you know, everything was moving like that. Yeah, I remember that. I remember Brad Bowman had borrowed it from him and I was out there skating. I go, how'd you get that board? And he goes, well, I just asked him if I could ride it. And I was like terrified of Tony. I was like, oh my God, this guy's in the Hell's Angels or something. So that he's like skating it and same results. Like, of course. Bowman was solid too, but like you could see like how instead of like bang, bang, bang trying to get a grind, it was like.
Hey, I remember that was at the Spring Valley contest though, with the first time I saw like wider trucks. It was Steve Alba, and he was doing crazy grinds, like, and I was just like,
but he had road goings in that contest.
Steve did. Sure. I don't remember. I just remember he was riding wider boards, and I was looking at it like, and I was thinking to myself like, yeah, he's grinding that no problem because he's got wide trucks. They were like half tracks or no mid tracks.
Oh, mid track.
You know, he went to mid tracks, and we were all still riding half tracks. And I just remember, you know, and it was funny because in my garage the other day, I pulled out some stuff and I found the original half tracks that I used to ride back in the day. Yeah. You know, and I drilled out a bunch of holes in it and put in flint. So grinds, little sparks on it. That was a cool thing back then.
And to Steve's like merit, I remember when they were coming and skating, and he was one of the guys. You know, I would go up and like I was kind of a surfer skater where you went up and like slash grind, right? But Steve was like, it would carve up and just like, to me, I was like, dude, just pulling a wheelie. Like he just going up and like lifting the front, going and then like I go, that's it, that's a kick turn, like really? But like fast forward, you know, that became a faster way to do a kick turn for one, and then that was really like seemed like to me the precursor to doing a 5.0, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like I like
it kind of was a 5.0 , really.
Some of those things, I go like, and I was literally going like, what is that? Is that a kick turn? Like you call it there was no body movement. It just would like lift it up and like that. And I was like, wow, like we were so like backyard.
We had no idea.
Crushers, you know, like everything was kind of aggro, and I was like, and like later on, I was like, you know, like being an adult looking back, I go, I was kind of like ahead of it. Some of that stuff was like progressive without even knowing it. Where at the time I was like, I don't know about this, like but seriously, you know. Oh, and then in that first one too, going back to David Paul, he went up and did He had sent me a video too of it. Because I have a little clip of me skating in that first Hester. I should have sent it to you, a video.
Do that.
Wait, skating in the first Hester.
Yeah, I have video of me skating.
Video. Oh shoot. Okay.
Ain't no
Yes.
film you
Yeah,
made.
yeah.
We'll send it over to us and we'll
Yeah.
flip it in here.
Oh, sweet.
I'll
Yeah.
just drop it in right now.
Yeah. Okay, so keep going with your story.
David Paul. And
Yeah.
he was the one that sent it to me originally.
Okay.
'Cause
Oh,
had-
he was.
yeah,
Okay.
He had all of these tracker things, you know?
Okay.
And all the people on it were riding tracker. He goes, but the guy shot you because you were from San Diego too. Like, you know, so that was cool. And he showed me his part of his video too, right? And he went up and like went straight in and like grabbed the nose and tail and did like he called it a helicopter at the time, like that, like a
360 spin,
but like, you know, like
front side grab,
but on the wall, like not out like this way, like, and landed it, you know. And I remember like at the time I was like, oh, I don't know, like it was odd, but like that's way ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time. Yeah, yeah.
Bucky's trick.
Put up like anything, doing
Like
a
a
540 or
like
whatever,
a unit,
right?
like doing a front side unit.
You know. And I was like, and then he would do it, but he would like lose his speed, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember like, that's another
Kind
thing.
of slide out.
That's
of
another
it
thing where I was like, I don't know, like I liked the guy, and I remember going like, I don't know, that thing's kind of crushing your speed, man.
Yeah.
But like I look back at the video now, I'm like, dude, like what the heck? That's way out of the blocks, right?
Do you have any of that footage?
I don't have that,
Oh.
but
Can you reach out to him and get it?
yeah, I think so.
No, if you still talk to him, man, I would love to get that guy and talk to him about that stuff, man.
And I think I can
Because-
find him through. Like, I think he's in and out on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
But
I'll look him up on it too.
Yeah.
Now that you
and I was
mention
like,
it.
oh, look at that. Yeah.
So that's
Oh, and then that footage, I used to play once in a while, like at some of the Hester like parties afterwards, like that.
yeah.
Like up at Newark, we were in a park, and they were playing that footage of me like that. I remember
Yeah.
guys going like, "What was that guy?"
Yeah.
And then people were like, "That's Mark." And they're like, "What?" Like, yeah. And I was like, "You get overlooked, you know what I mean?" 'Cause
Oh,
it's
yeah, yeah.
nobody sees anything. They're just like in their little crazy mind, you know. And then Lance Mountain has it now. He has a copy because he was doing
Oh, okay.
he was doing that thing, him and Olsen,
Right.
about the first pro pool thing, right? Because he wanted to put it together before the Olympics so people could see how everybody got to the Olympics. And I was like super stoked. He reached out and I got
Yeah.
to, you know, I'm like, this is great, you know, great, right?
Yeah.
So a couple months later, I was at Oceanside Skate Park and Olsen was there. And I was like, we were talking a little bit and kind of skating along, and like, oh yeah, you're working on that project with Mountain. And he goes, yeah. Like, oh, so you get to see like all those old vintage stuff videos. Like I knew he saw that, but
Yeah.
he goes, yeah, like I saw that footage you got at Spring Valley. He goes, man, I forgot like what a threat you were in those contests.
Yeah.
Like I kind of just looked at him. Like, really?
Well, that's gonna make you feel good.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you did all the tricks that everybody else was doing. You know what I mean?
I had everything at Spring Valley.
Yeah.
That and a lot of people didn't have. You know?
Right.
And even David Paul, he messaged me like years later. He's like, he goes, I have because he has those footages. He goes, I have footage of everybody, this and this. And he goes, you're the only person like really did an air outside of that pool, like
Yeah.
above the rim and came back in. Like he goes, other people
Yeah.
were doing some airs. He goes, you're the only one that like really clears it all the way out and comes back in. I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. He was always a big fan of mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a
No.
cool guy.
I definitely I totally
Yeah,
I remember.
It took me 30 years or more years to get that photo.
Yeah.
Mikey Lieras told me about that photo at Moving on Skate Park. He goes, you know, in the Del Mar Fair, there's a picture of you, a photo, and it won like a blue ribbon, you know, like up on the photo things.
Yeah.
You know how they have those
Yeah, of course.
things like that back then?
Yeah.
And I remember going to I remember them taking the
Yeah.
picture too. I remember going to
A
the
beautiful backside, huh?
I remember going to the Del Mar Fair and seeing it. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's a pretty rad shot.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to have that, you know, same thing, like, oh, whatever.
Right.
On with your life. You know?
Yeah, I know.
So like years later, I would be at home like thinking about that photo, right? 20 years later, maybe, right? Not skateboarding, nothing. And I was like, I think the guy's name was Tim Stahl.
Wow.
For some reason, I
Yeah.
remember the name of the guy, right? And that's where there's still phone books.
Yeah.
I would call like, I don't know why I was compelled to find this photo.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call some Tim Stalls that look like they're like 619ers, you know?
Right.
And I would call, hey, is Tim Stoll live there? Yeah. And I remember this one lady, if you see him, that's like just went crazy. Like I was like, wow, like I'm really getting some like
Yeah.
Karened on you.
some crazy stuff about this, like, right? And I never did I never could like hook it up, right? So then when Facebook came out, I was like, for some reason, I'm like,
you had some time.
I go like, well, he was a photographer back then, I guess, right? I go, Goodrich was a photographer. I go with their buddies on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I looked in there, Tim Stahl. I go, there he is. So I messaged him through Messenger on Facebook. I go, hey, it's Doug Marker and the whole thing, like I told you, at Del Mar, there was that photo and this and that. I was just curious if that's you and if you had that photo or remember this at all. And then instead of messaging me back, that picture you see of him holding that one, he
is that what it is?
He put it on Facebook. Is this what you're looking for, Doug?
Oh, man.
Dude, I was like, I remember it being a color picture, but I guess it wasn't. But I was like, he goes, this is the actual one. He goes, this is, you're welcome to, right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get the picture, right?
Here's that photograph.
There he is.
Yeah.
So I don't, before I get it, well, I was going over to my parents' house and he lived, I guess, kind of close to that La Mesa. And my wife had contacted him and they had worked out a little thing where they put on like on a vinyl thing and like that. And I didn't know. And she goes, oh, we're making a stop before we get there like that. And then we got there and he came out and he had that. And there, I should have sent you, there's a photo of him like with his arm around me and I have the picture like that. I'm telling you, I don't know why, but I almost cried, man. I was like, it really like brought back like that day and everything and how long I waited to see that photo. And I always liked the photo. Yeah. And I was like, it got me. I was like, oh, stay cool, Doug. Stay cool. Yeah. you're good. You're solid. Yeah.
Going soft on us.
Yeah,
man.
he was. Yeah, right. I was like, yeah, and it was. And he was like so stoked to give it to me.
Yeah,
such the nicest guy.
Yeah,
that was rad.
Great story.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on a little bit here. Be really stoked to see. Let's finish up Big O. Final contest. Big O.
Yeah, I mean, me skating in it, I don't really remember that much about it. I remember things that happened there, though. I remember like
this is in the capsule.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a shot of Olsen jumping that
canyon, but
Mike Fomer did it earlier.
Yeah.
But he laid the groundwork. Like he was the first guy that did it when we were there. But I mean, there was nothing I ever said about him on that. And then, of course, you can see it's ready. You can do it. So, but then Olsen did it. So, yeah, I remember I always thought Fomer should have got some credit for that because he figured it out. He was the first one, not as high, but he did it. Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And who else was in there? Was Rodney Jesse.
Yeah, Rodney Jesse.
And
here's Esco boy, right?
I hadn't seen I don't know if I'd ever even run into that guy, but in the early magazines, Rodney Jesse, he was like, look at this guy, and not skating with him or anywhere. He was pretty solid in that contest. Yeah. He was pretty gnarly. I was like, look at this guy. He was getting up on it, And by then, Salba was Salba by then. I will say in the first Hester series that Steve progressed more than anybody, from the first one, even though he won the very first, but his talent level definitely progressed more than anybody's. I mean, he really was putting in the work, because he did some pretty high frontside airs off that front wall there going in. Yeah. And that thing was not easy.
A lot of vert there.
Yeah. That's your famous deal, right? Right. And I remember going like, hello, big wall. I'm going to go around the corner. Yeah. So, I remember that. That was rad.
That face wall right in the channel had more vert.
Yeah.
That thing just went straight up.
And he was just doing them, starting him like he would kind of loft across, but I was like, look at this guy, look at him now, he was getting it done. And they knew else at the time it was another thing I go, that's kind of a funky deal or style, but now I go like, that's actually pretty rad. Was it Frank Blood?
Yeah.
He was a sim skater, huh?
Yeah. Well, he skated for a few, but he was definitely sims.
I think there's a photo of him in the mag from that contest.
Yeah. Doing big.
He would do a front side, but he would hit off the tail, straight up there. Yeah, and I used to go but now I go dude, that thing was
so gnarly.
Yeah, right. It's weird how there's a fashion early, if I'm gonna do it like this, it's you got to do it like that. But
it was always him and Orton going for the big front side airs.
Man. I mean, that thing was just, and the photo was good too because it's just straight up. When he took the shot of him, I'm like, I remember going That's something right there. I don't remember Orton being in that contest.
Yeah, I don't know. He might have been. I don't know.
I didn't remember him being in the.
But,
I remembered him practicing for the first one, but I was like, I don't think he was in it. And Lance, when he was putting together, he goes, "No, he was in it." And like he was like, oh, okay.
yeah.
Stacy was supposed to be in that first one too, and I don't know if this is true, but the rumor was like he got there and he was like, "Wow, everybody's got it together," you know. So he did a demo, like a skate demo, like this is how you skate cool before the thing, and everybody was like, "Oh,
yeah." Hey man, I have more and more respect for Stacy.
Oh my goodness!
Than ever.
I mean, look at that career this guy's got. And
yeah,
he's done.
Yeah, Stacy,
and even in skating and in films now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I talked to Rocco the other day, and Rocco told me all these stories about him, and I was like, "Really, Stacy? You know, like nice. What?"
Some feel good story.
Yeah.
Nice.
So anyway, it was pretty amazing, man.
And that Jerry Lopez movie just a few months ago at the La Paloma up there in Encinitas. He was there with Lopez.
Oh, was he? Oh yeah.
Lopez
I saw
movie.
That. All the Pal guys were there. Actually,
it was rad. I was there at the opening night.
Yeah. But I can't wait to get about 5 minutes with Stacy, you know, and talk to him about some stuff because Rocco brought up a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, nice. Wow, really? So. Anyway, but okay,
mean, we could talk forever. I mean,
yeah, I know exactly
about skateboarding back then, right?
Yep. Okay, so basically, when you were sponsored, really, the surprising thing is, Doug, and this is just me talking, okay, but like, I wonder how much further your career would have gone if you would have had a board sponsor at that time.
And Mike used to take me to some like. Maybe even 6 different people where they were like, and I would sign things like, hey, we're going to make this, but they would just never come through. Or one did, and I was like, I make better boards than this in my garage. Whereas I could have went like, hey, you know, like, let's do this or that, you know?
Yeah.
But I didn't know, you know?
I know. We had no idea.
I was just like,
did
like crap.
I remember. I know. Now I look back at it and listen, like, you know, looking at like, I mean, you were way advanced as far as skateboarding, as far as all the pros go at Spring Valley. Like, there's virtually not too many. Oh, no, I mean, I remember you did all the tricks. You did more than 90% of all the pros and stuff. And I could never, you know, like, you always wore a Goldwing shirt when you skated. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So
I mean, I got stuff from other people and other companies, you know, because I knew all of the GNS guys from it.
Yeah.
And like I said, still to this day, I told you earlier, like the guys on GNS still ask me how come I wasn't on GNS.
Yeah.
And it's always like the weird thing, or I'll meet people at these. Get to go, oh, you were on GNS. I'm like,
yeah, everybody. I mean, honestly,
and there's been a couple times, to be honest.
Yeah.
And the last thing, like some stranger kind of people come up, like not strange, but I don't know them, you know, and they'll go like, oh yeah, you're on GNS. And now you go like, yeah, that was great. Like I can't get into this anymore.
Well, I get it, man. But it's just so weird, you know. Like I can never figure it out.
They bring it up, and then they give me different reasons, and everything.
Yeah, I know. I was in the same boat. We were like, me, you, and Lane were kind of like
link it up somehow. I mean, that would have been a good deal, you know.
Well, I was
company back then. You like TA?
Yeah. Well, that was just amazing that TA did that and how he did it. I had no idea. You know, I was just a skater myself, and
like I always knew we were just you were a paper boy like
that's
me,
right, man. I know.
I gotta get home and get the papers out.
Yeah.
We were the first kids that turned pro. There was no piece of paper
for pool skating for sure. Yeah, totally.
Today's kid, he comes in, I want this, you're gonna give me this and this.
Well, we kind of spoiled them.
I mean, everybody knows everything now. I mean, it's so present with social media and everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's nice sharing stories with you and hearing your stories and other guys, because I'm still hearing stuff I didn't know, and nobody's ever going to know them but us.
Yeah,
and that's
right.
That's special.
Your story with Jay and stuff at the hotel and stuff.
I never heard that. I mean, that is before.
That is so awesome.
It's so like good to just be part of that original thing. I mean, and like I said, only us know it. But when I was, like I said, skating with Howard Hood just the other day, and we weren't close friends back when we were kids. I told him like I was scared to death of you, dude. Like you looked exactly the same at Hester, Spring Valley, as you do now. Like, you were a man and you were like formidable size. And I was just like,
he didn't age, has he?
no, you're not exactly the same. And I was like,
hey, same with Lonnie. Lonnie's the same way. Little ninja, man.
I was like, and he's still quiet now, which can be intimidating.
Yeah.
But now, you know, we're older and we talk. But he was quiet, like same thing. He goes, I didn't know what was going on. I go, man, I would have stayed clear of you. I was like, this guy didn't knock you out. And I told him, I go, like, I'm stoked for us to be part of that original fabric. I go, like, it's not going to happen again, right? And he goes, me too, man. Like, that's rad. I go, it is rad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sure, whatever people go, whatever anybody says, or the level we skated, whatever, like, that was the level. Yeah. That was it. Yeah. Sure, it's went on to what it is now. And then where I skate at Encinitas Community Skate Park a lot by my house. I mean, and that's the hub, man. I mean, as far as, like, you know, I've seen Sky Brown, like, learn how to skate there, you know? Yeah. And all the girls who went to Olympics, you know, like Jordan Barrett, and I've seen them all, and Bryce. I've seen them all. And when we used to skate at the Y, I took a lot of time off when I came back in like 03 or whatever, right? I mean, Tom Shar was there with his juice box. Yeah. Like, I always remember that. I go, because I was like, oh, this kid's pretty good. And I was like, it's sponsored by Red Bull? Yeah. And he was over there like, I go, and later I go, like, I always, when I see him, because he's a man. Yeah, right? I know. And I know, like, you know how it is once you're older, you're in a bubble, you don't, you just, your hair gets wider, but you're still the same, but he's now grown up, right? I go, like, he's like, hey, how's it going? You know, like, the kid with the juice box. Yeah, all those kids. There's about a dozen kids that all grew up together at the same time from the Y over there, and they still, like, I see some of them that went off to college, they come back and they roll in at foods and they're skating. I'm like, hey, and they're all so good. Yeah. I mean, they're all like, right, but they're like, the level of difference isn't even that much. I mean, they're super gnarly and they're like, oh, I'm just skating for fun. I'm like, God, Lord, you guys are good. They all were so good, you know? Yeah. They just skate for fun. That's right.
Show up just like we did back in the day, you know?
Yeah, I mean, as big as it is to skateboarding seems, it's not that big, you know? Yeah. And it's amazing, you know how it is, like, especially in San Diego. I mean, because I have that Roadshow and I jump on that thing. Like, when I first came back skating, and I'd be at the Y there, and like the kids, see them like roll their eyes, like, oh, what's going on? What's going on with these guys? Don't you guys have to have a barbecue to go to? and now, I mean, since again with the Hollywood Dogtown movies and any skater that's like really up in the scene knows about the Hall of Fame and all that now. Yeah. And now they all know, like, guys like us, like, where we came from, right? Yeah. Now I roll in and it's like, they're like, hey, man, what's up, dude? Yeah. I go, wow, like, it's such a great feeling, right? Yeah. And I'll skate there with some kid that's, I don't know, 14 years old or whatever, and they're ripping, and we're just like, oh, yeah, like, having the best time. And I go, God, I could not feel better about, like, those moments.
And he's so lucky because we never had that. I mean, our old was Dale at 27.
Yeah. Yeah, and anybody that you didn't learn from anybody, you just watched because you couldn't ask a question, right? I mean, heavy pecking order. But I mean, I will say right now, at my age, this is the best time of my life. Like, I'm sure I have highlight reels of a lot of things I've done, and I mean, how much stuff I do in 60 years, right? Yeah. Between families and skateboarding and this grandkids and that. And I mean, good Lord, right? But now, like, I retired a year ago, so now I have a full year of this. I get up, play my guitar, go to the beach, go surfing like today. Like, and look I'm here talking about. Yeah. I'm just so free, and I go to the skate park, like I said, and everybody's so like into it, right? The whole world just disappears. You roll into that skate park, and it still just disappears. Like, oh, right on. Like, oh yeah, like. I do whatever I do, and I'll like feel good about it. And some kid will go like, "That was rad," and you're like, "Right on," because they're not. I mean, now that people don't really, all levels and ages, they're not really like measuring you against this top guy, right? And myself included, with my friends and a lot of people I skate with. They're at all levels, lower levels, higher. Right. But it's just the willingness to put themselves out there and still obtain that feeling, I go, that's rad. I mean, that's cool, Yeah, right. I mean, a lot of these guys got to get up the next day and go to work,
That's right.
But they're like, hey, man, we're in for the long haul.
But what about injuries? I mean, are your knees, everything good? You had surgery on anything?
Or tons of surgeries, but not from skateboarding, from the motorcycle. Yeah. When I was racing motocross for like a decade, I was just thought I was a little bit better than I was. It was rough, man. It was a funny story about the motorcycle thing. Because like I've had one since I was 8, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And when I was about 12, I was, you know, some of the older kids, we used to race at Carlsbad, and they lived in my neighborhoods or whatever. We all raced in the canyons, had tracks down there.
Yeah.
I lived down there by Archie Moore down there.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
down there where you had tons of canyon. You know?
Yeah.
And you were running from every like scary thing.
Yeah.
And I was into it. Like I really loved those motorcycles, and I was fast, and I would race the older kids that were like my brother's age on the, you know, things. And I was right there, and I was like, I'm all in. Like I'm gonna race motors. That was my thing. I skateboarded a little bit then, but I was motorcycles.
Yeah.
And the defining moment was, and it haunted me forever, but it turned out to be a good thing. It's funny how parents know, you know, like where you're mad at them, but they know. So, we went down to some racetrack down in Otay or wherever it was. And I remember going down there and watching races that I could be in, like amateur motorcycle races. And the kids that were like my age, 12 or whatever, I watched them, and I was just like this, like, you shitting me? These are the guys I'm going to race?
Yeah.
It was like, they might as well have been walking around the track. I was like, dude, I'm going to just, all I could see is like opening the trunk and throwing trophies in. I'm like, I'm taking this over, right? I was a hyper kid, you know, poor parents, you know. And then I remember going like, all right, next week to my parents, like, we're coming, I'm racing, right? Yeah. I mean, I was like, that was the first moment in my life where I was like, I'm charged. Yeah. I'm taking control of something here, right? And my dad goes, whoa, you're not racing? I'm like, and oh, you should, I mean, the color must have ran out of my body, you know? I was like, what? No way we're letting you race. I'll win every race. That's not the thing. Yeah. They're like, you are so competitive and so like, crazy on that thing. They'll do anything to win. You'll kill yourself. And I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, that stayed with me. I swear, I didn't ride my motorcycle much after that. I did, and I had motorcycles, but that drive of one, it was over. So I started skateboarding, and luckily it steered me into like that. You know, was part of a great thing of skateboarding. Fast forward, like I'm like 40, and my oldest son, he wanted to get into like riding dirt bikes, right? Yeah. It's like, I don't know, or maybe I was in my late 30s. And so he starts doing it, and I'm like, oh, I'll get a bike again. And then by now they're like space age, insanely good, right? So I start riding with him, and then we start riding at the tracks, which are now like skate parks, you know? And then I'm in. I'm like, dude, this is like amazing. So I start like entering some races, and I'm doing pretty good. Like I'm winning, you know, this and that for my age. So then I start training. I go like, well, you know, I'm decent. There's guys that are better, older guys, but they've been riding for all this time, right? But their fitness is crap, you know? So I started running to where I was running like half marathons, and I was just like 155 pounds, just ready to go, you know? And then I started just upping the game, and then boom, folded my leg back, and boom. And then the end game was I crashed, and like all up until then, I mean, I'd come home from the track, like, I had to go by the ER, like I almost bit my tongue in half, or like this and that, or like, I folded my leg in half, and they I have titanium rod in my leg, you know? And then, but this last, I never knew you could get so hurt that it like would just wreck your soul. Yeah. You know, like, you know, you'd see people like, oh, it'd be fun, or like that. And even up until I broke my first bone, I was like, how do people break on all these, like, why are they coming apart, you know? But then, you know, some of that was happening, but that wasn't slowing me down at all. And then I wadded up in a race, like about 20 feet or 5 feet up in the air, like upside down. I thought you couldn't free run the course. So I thought the track was here, and it was there. And it was just an edge, and you went down like that. And it was actually a cruiser kind of race, but I was like all crazy-eyed. And I was like, oh, I remember it was my second lap, and I go like, I remember that thing. I go, I'll just jump the whole thing. Like, that's nothing. Like, these ham and eggers, I'm going to like smoke these guys out, right? So I like move over like this and just whoop on that 450 and went, and that's all I remembered. Like,
there's like, no more course below.
No, I was just like, what's going on? And then
you're heading towards the light. Is that what was happening?
And then I remember like somebody like kind of like waking me up, and I was like, I couldn't breathe. I was like, I got breathe. And they're like, calm down. I'm like, I got breathe, you know? Yeah. I couldn't see, which is totally black. And then they went and got like one of those rhino cars or like that to get me off the track, to take me to an ambulance. And the moment they picked me up to put me in that thing, ugh.
What was the date of that? You remember?
It was in November 2011.
Okay.
They picked me up, and it was just like broken sticks inside of me, just going, all my whole side. I was just like, and I couldn't see, like I was blind for some reason. And I was like,
it's called shock, I think.
Like, good God. I'm like, I'm really hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And I wake up in the ER, and then a guy's like, this and that and that. I had a broken collarbone, 5 broken ribs into my lungs, and like shattered my scapula. Because I came down upside down with the bike, like right like that, just wham. He's like, well, we're gonna have to ventilate you. And I'm like, I don't know what that is. I go like, do whatever, just put me down, like sedate me and like get on with it. He goes, well, that's why I'm telling you. You have no blood pressure. You're about ready to pump out. Your heart's gonna stop, or you're gonna drown. Your lungs are full of blood. He goes, if we give you any kind of narcotics, it'll stop your heart instantly. Yeah. I'm like, he goes, so we're gonna just do this. And I'm like, whatever. So then he pulls out a big chrome 3/4 inch pipe, you know. He goes 1, 2, 3, and like some dudes like from behind me like grab me, you know, like holding me down. Yeah.
Right there.
Just start moving it through me, and it didn't hurt. I was just like, it was just, I could just like mentally.
It's like an epidural, huh?
I'm like, dude, this is going right through like, right in your body though, you know. And I'm like, and then he was like, oh, good job. And he goes, we're almost there. I'm like, I'm doing it again. And then he popped it in there, and they put like an attachment on it to start pumping everything blood out of you. And he goes, oh, they're like, you're a wreck, dude. Like, we're going to put you in a coma until we like figure this out and this and that. And my poor wife and the whole thing. Now, I mean, there were some nightmare stories of me being in there and then trying to recover from that. I was out of it. In fact, that night before the surgery, they sedate you so bad and so many like high on like morphine or whatever was going on. I was calling on my phone. I couldn't even hardly see. They're coming to get me. Like I was like a nut on my wife's like, yeah, it was all kinds of stuff going on. And it was dark. Like it was, I never knew that a person would like give up. I was like not a person who would give up. If you drop me off at the horizon in the ocean, I'm like, well, I got to swim back. Yeah. It was dark. I was like, I remember that night closing my eyes and like saying goodbye to my family and going like, this, I don't know if you can get out of this tunnel, man. I go like, if I wake up in the morning, we're gonna try to live. If not, I said that was it. Yeah. And I woke up in the morning, I was like, holy crap. But I was rocked. Even after I got well, I went to some counseling for like post-traumatic stress and stuff. It really like spun me out. Yeah. And that was it. Like while I was in there, I had just had my granddaughter, my first grandchild, and my daughter was there, and they're like intervention on me basically. No more. Yeah. I'm like, what can I say? Like,
no shit.
I'll move my pinky. I'm like, and that was it. Never rode it back again. Yeah. I still have my Harley and stuff, but yeah, that was rough. I even apologized to my family and everything. Like, hey, sorry, I got so wrapped up in something that could have like just taken me away. Yeah. I was into it, and I see Cab and those guys doing that now. Yeah. And some of those guys like, hey, come back out, John. I go like, yeah, I'm over it too.
McGill and that injury that McGill took.
It's not.
Well, same with Stevie.
Steve took one too.
Yeah, Steve broke his leg in half.
And my other buddy,
before Tony Hawk.
Trudeau, he was.
Oh, that's right.
He like hooked his foot and like popped his leg out of the hip.
Yeah.
They had to life flat him, you know. And I never would go back to the track or anything. I was like, I couldn't watch it on TV. I was like, I just blocked it out. And about 2 years ago, I both Stevie's Cab and Stevie Drew, they were out there, and I rode my Harley out there, you know. It'd been a long time, like I rode into the motocross track, and I remember when I used to go there, I'd be like, it was like a hunting ground. Yeah, that sport's crazy, man. I know. It can get you, you know.
There's only 2 types of riders.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it can get you. I mean, it gets you, you know. And I watched the guys ride. And I was like, well, I'm over it. Like when I saw, like, I was like, and I remembered like just flying over it. I was like, I want nothing to do with that. And the funny thing about that Death Racer sticker, that's one of the earlier ones from the first batch.
Right.
When I first got those stickers, it was the day before that race I crashed in. The very first sticker I took, I put on the swing arm of my motorcycle. Yeah. So I never did nothing with Death Racer for a long time after that. Yeah. I was just like, I don't know, maybe this isn't the way. Like the whole thing would like kind of was still hooked on that, you know. So that was a lot downtime. But now with the Roadshow, I mean that thing took on a life of its own. That was never even going to be anything. Yeah. That literally is from
Dennis, right? From your board, your graphic. Did you have a board graphic like that?
Oh yeah, and that was the graphic. Yeah. but it had Doug Marker's show.
Yeah.
But when I used to skate Poods all the time with Kyle Jensen and Chad, right?
Yeah.
And after a while, I was like, this is great. This is amazing, you know, but I go like, I can't just keep skating here. There's so many new parks, and I don't know. I'm just that way. I can't even like take the same run. I like to like whatever, you know. I'm not trying to progress. I just want to enjoy the situation, you know. And then I go, you know what I'm gonna do? Every Saturday, I'm just gonna like throw a dart and I'm gonna go to some park. If I've been there before or not been there before, I'm not gonna go like, oh, that one sucks or that one's better or nothing. I go wherever I go, boom, I'm going, right. And they're like, all right, we'll go.
Yeah.
And Chad had never been outside of his little bubble there because you know, I couldn't see. So and then Kyle went with me, and we went for a couple of times, you know. And then people would go like, "Hey, I don't see you around. Like, where you been skating?" I go like, "Well, every Saturday I'm just like going somewhere new, you know." And then a couple more people like and tour. I was getting a lot of like, I go, I'll just put like a little flyer out like, "Hey," and then I don't know how I came up. I thought of like the Antique Roadshow for some reason, right? Yeah. So I went on. I saw like the first one just had like the arrow and said Roadshow. And it was at Santee. It was this January. It'll be 3 years, and that's just kind of how it started. And then most of the people that go now are not even people like my friends that started going with me. Yeah. Except for Chad. And Chad's like every once in a while he'll go like, God, I'm so grateful that you took me to all of those parks and everything. He goes, because I would never do that. He goes, because I'd be afraid, like, because it's just so out of my comfort zone. But now he rips all these parks.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, we met Eric through Death Racer. That's how we got our logo.
Yes.
Because of you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew that. Huh. Our logos were because of Eric. Met him at the day.
Oh, Eric. All right.
Yeah.
So he wound up doing our logo for us. So thanks to the Roadshow, that's how we got it.
And now it's just, I mean, like I said, I can't even stop it. I mean, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going to I took a break. I'm like, wow, no. I'm like, okay. And I will say that it has helped me too, because once I was like, oh, you know, like maybe enough, you know, because we're coming up on 100, you know, like 97 is a Saturday.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. 97 this Saturday?
Yeah, and it's been 2.5 years. I mean, that's only because of the pandemic and some holidays. I mean, it's been every Saturday.
So where are we this Saturday?
Oceanside again. It's so hot. I'm trying to just stay locally, and
stay by the ocean is good too.
So middle of October, I'm going to have the 100th at Poods. So it's coming up.
We're having a party there.
We're going to have a big.
Okay, I'll be there.
We'll be there.
I'll be there.
Bring the cameras and we'll have a day of it.
So yeah, I'm going to try to. I got to do it before exposure kicks off on the 22nd.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that always is there.
Some interesting people in this photograph.
Well, and this is sort of like how I knew, like, if you put out a flyer, they will come. Yeah. Like Jamie reached out to me like, hey, let's put on like something, and we came up with the name Old Cup because it was so easy to morph the Gold Cup to Old Cup, right? Yeah. We made the sticker exactly the same. Yeah. I mean, it was from the sticker, right? Yeah. And he goes, well, how are we gonna this and this? I go like, we'll just put out a flyer. Like he goes, and he was like, asked me, I think people will just tell people no, come, and they did. So then,
there's a lot of pros in that picture, even though it's kind of hard to see right there. Yeah.
And like I said, there would have been a ton more, but they opened vans on the same day.
I remember what happened too on that day.
But it was rad
because there was like really bad traffic coming down from vans. Remember, I think it took Eddie Eddie like 3 hours to get there, which was really nice that he made the trip down.
There were some guys came from Germany even. Like we flew. I go for this. Yeah. I'm like, oh, right on, man. Right. Like it had a reach.
Some skaters in there that are no longer with us.
Yeah, there's a.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Damon Dodge.
Yeah.
And Eddie O'Gara, I mean, like, special thanks to him for putting on that Elgato Classic.
Yeah.
I never would have known so many people that I know now, like Jamie.
Well, you're going to it this year, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jamie and
when is that?
Lance, Mountain, like a skating element. Like, I never would have known these guys. It's November 11th and 12th.
Oh, okay.
La Quinta Skatepark.
Yeah.
Mark that on your calendars.
Then make sure you're there because it actually is a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness! And with that new park, I signed up for like they're having pump track races.
Yeah.
Oh, so that might be you're into that pump track.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean,
I already signed up.
Oh, they're already having races there. So I mean, there's probably some people pretty like.
Have you been on that track?
Yeah, that one at La Quinta. Well, you were there.
Oh, that's right. I was there. I came down to your roadshow.
You guys haven't seen your.
Remember?
You're trying to scare me now.
What's
I
that?
can't remember that you both were there. You both
I did right when that park
That's
opened.
right.
I Roadshow down there before it got too hot. You know,
Yeah.
it was pretty warm that day, but I mean, not like now. Yeah, and you were there.
Yeah, I came down because I saw the thing.
Oh, really? That's why you came down there?
I was sitting at home and I'm
I
like,
thought I always just sat.
it's a freaking road trip. Nah, man.
Really?
I knew you guys were all going to
That's
go.
rad.
So I drove down there. It took me 2 hours to get there. And I got there. You guys were there for about maybe 15 minutes.
Because we got there right. We got at 9
out,
when it
yeah.
opened. Because
I probably got there at about 11 or so. I think I left my house at about that time.
And that bowl's rad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, not intimidating as the other one.
Yeah.
Which will be amazing for the Elgato, right?
Yeah. No,
and so much improvement from what we were skating before. Which it's all good when everybody's all together, but something new like that, with all the space around it.
Yep, there's a lot of room. So
yeah, that's a lot of room.
There's a lot of room right there. So
the weather should be like
75,
then,
78 degrees, I'm thinking.
October 1st is your 100th.
No, I'm not sure exactly the Saturday, but it'll be
in the next month.
It'll be by middle of October.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just looking on the board. I wrote down the numbers.
Because I might have a motorcycle ride or something before.
Oh, that's right.
I'm kind of getting into that.
I was going to get into that too.
It's just like endless nonsense going on.
Yeah. It looks like fun though. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
I almost bought a bike the other day thinking, I could go on it now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I saw a bike. It just came so close to mine.
It's just a couple of us right now, but that's how the other thing started out too.
Right. Yeah.
Now it's an army. Like last Saturday at Linda Vista, like when we took a group shot for the lady from the Trib was there. And I looked in that photo. I'm like, God, these are people that most of them that aren't really, I mean, they come to the Roadshow, but like most people that usually come aren't even in the photo. I mean, it would have been like, it was just so hot,
Yeah.
And if she wasn't coming, I would have said like, no way,
Yeah.
And luckily a couple of people brought easy ups.
Yeah.
And without that, I would have went like,
I saw that. I listened to your podcast through as well.
Yeah, she was cool.
So,
she was really good at like.
She wasn't bad.
No,
especially for someone who had no idea about skateboarding and stuff.
But she knows how to interview you. And like I will talk forever. So.
You? No. No, you never talked as a kid, but you'll talk now. Yeah.
Oh, and there was the first time I listened to it was with my wife Heather in the car that Sunday, and then it was twice there. I was like, I kind of stepped on her, and my wife even said like, yeah, welcome to my world. Like it's nonstop.
Hey, I get it all the time too, man. So I get it. You don't listen.
I wake up and start talking until I go to bed. Everybody knows that even everywhere I go to skateboard, like this guy. Like Johnny Carson of skateboarding.
Never heard that before, man. Awesome. All right. Well, yeah. I was going to have some questions about some other stuff. What else are you doing now? Like, you still doing your road show?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get everybody together every weekend.
Yeah, and I just got some decks came out.
You did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I posted that too.
Did you bring one?
No.
Shit.
And the funny thing is,
you could have been promoting it right now. Okay, so tell me about the board.
That's always been my thing. Like, I'm not like, when it comes out, I go like,
I know.
I'm not a sales guy.
I'm the same guy. I'm the same way. But
the only reason I even did it is because the two boards that I've been riding for about the last 4 years, the company I was getting them from was no longer going to like give me low numbers, like, give me 5. Just for me, or I could put my friends.
Right.
They're like, you got to do 50. And I'm like, 50? And I'm like, I go, well,
who's making?
I go,
can you tell me?
I go, during the pandemic, like I was keeping you alive 5 and 6. Now business is good, I go, what's up? Like it's through that Clutch distribution.
Through Clutch?
Yeah, they're out of Mexico.
Really? Yeah, ASF.
And what's funny is the one model that I ride, the 9-inch one, like it's called the W6 is the model, right?
Okay.
So a little backstory on that. I'm at City Heights and Rob Mertz is there.
Yeah.
He has the same exact shape, right? I go, it's the same shape. He goes, I made that shape for Clutch. And he goes, yeah. He's from a different company now. And he goes, I go, W6. He goes, it's an M6.
Yeah.
I go, did you laugh? They just flipped that right around. Yeah. He's like, unbelievable. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
in good shape. But yeah, so I couldn't get any low numbers. So I was like 50. And I was like, well, I'll get 25 and 25, and I go like, I'm going to do it. Like people always have to. You should make Death Racer.
Who do you work with over there, Scott, or who was it?
Through Clutch?
Yeah. You talked to Scott over there?
Brandon Herbert. I guess
Brandon.
Was the guy.
Okay.
Oh, you know him?
No, I mean I used to work with those guys big time back in the day.
Originally, way back when I was getting the lower numbers, was through a guy named Israel.
Okay. Interesting.
But
all right.
Yeah, super stoked on the decks and.
No, it's great wood.
Yeah,
it's great wood.
Everybody, even when I was just always riding the blanks, are like, God, these boards are nice. I go like, I know, man. Like, and I was getting it for like nothing before too,
Yeah.
So still an amazing price.
Their price has gone up like I don't know $9. Just cost.
Yeah.
Cost has gone up $9.
I'm still like, couldn't complain, and I'm super happy with the.
I'm actually absolutely shocked that they actually let you buy 5 boards.
Yeah, they were.
Them. That's unbelievable because those guys are like, yeah, give me 1,000 boards and we can talk,
Well, I got into that little routine because when Dennis was first doing Flying Aces, I go like, I'll search around and like help you out. So I'm like, hey, I'm associated with Dennis and this, and we're searching a company, and I gave him a little like, we're going to be doing big business. And so I just told me half a dozen this one and that one. They're like, well, okay. So that started the rhythm.
Okay.
I didn't know I need a couple more of those. And I did that for like 4 years. And then finally they're like, okay.
We're just
guys played us long
this
enough.
guy.
I mean, I'd pay him, but it was like
no, they're good people, man, and they probably afford to send you boards as they made like those guys have seconds and stuff.
Yeah,
and they call it the smallest little blimp. Nobody would ever notice. And the first time you ride it, it'd be done. And
the ones I had made, I'm like, they're throwing those at you. A little like odd right there. I go, these aren't.
Yeah.
That's because you're paying some real money now, Mark. Get those boards by the dumpster. And Marker wants some of those boards again.
Yeah, merch is
merch is rad.
Merch is funny because it's got to be perfect. I mean, like his tail's got to be exactly the same. His wheelbase has to be everything.
Well, I mean, and that setup he did on that, I mean, it's
perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, it's what I like, and it's. I go, the perfect skateboard is one I don't think about, and I'm just skating. I'm not going like, what's up with this or that.
I need to give him a call just to check up and
we see him once in a while. Like we hook him at City Heights because he's able to be away in the mornings too. So me and Barry and Chad will meet him down there, and become like pretty good friends. And they're like, yeah, he's cool. He cares about his skateboarding.
Oh man, you can't talk.
He's. or
time to skate.
I'm running the stereo thing. I'm rolling, and it's on Pandora. And I didn't pay the $5 or whatever for the commercials. Yeah. And so a commercial comes on. He's like, "Really, Marker? The $5?" I go, "Hey, man! Like, I'm bringing the stereo.
Yeah.
Would you kick down $5?" Yeah. And then he gets so like aggravated if he doesn't like pull off a perfect contest run. I go like, "Dude, you're super gnarly. Like, really?" Oh man!
When did you skate with him last?
Probably a couple months ago.
Okay.
But, I mean, not too long ago.
Because he gets hurt every now and then. Mertz gets hurt.
He can't hardly walk, but he can skateboard. He looks like a marionette walking like in Tijuana. You know where they have the little like lines on him. Like, I mean, he can. Yeah, I go like, man. He's like, oh yeah, this and that. But hey, he gets on that skateboard. His problems are over until he gets off that skateboard.
Yeah. One way or the other.
Super nice guy.
Yeah. No, I know. All right. Well, is there what do we?
We're just going through some photos here.
That's a graffiti bowl, like up. It was up on Mount Helix.
Yeah.
Perfect
there we go.
Arena.
I told you the story when I picked that, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna find a picture of Doug, but I'm gonna find a picture of his wife. Looks really, really good. So
she's amazing, my wife Heather.
Yeah. No question.
I mean, I'm lucky to have that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will honestly say it's better now than ever. So, like I said, my life right now is just.
Yeah, man, you're retired.
It's just
how much better does it get?
It takes a long time to figure out life, I guess. But right now, at least today, I had it figured out.
That's good.
Yeah.
And then are you still building bikes too?
No, and that one even morphed into a different bike. But I think about it. I'm always looking like,
I remember this stuff.
you know, maybe this, maybe that, and then I go, I'll just go ride the motorcycle you have. You know?
Well, I mean, oh, okay. So this isn't the cruiser you're taking on your rides?
No, I have my Harley I've had for 23
What
years.
is it? What Harley do you have?
I have a Dyna.
Okay. Got it.
Which is like Sons of Anarchy guys all rode, you know?
Yeah.
It's pre that.
Yeah. You gonna grow your hair long again like that so you can
That's funny you say that because I'll always let it start to grow out and I go like, I'm gonna do it, and then I go, it's just not right. I'll see a photo of me and I'm like,
yeah,
the objective look is not good. You know?
We've shown a few. They've been classics, that's for sure.
No, which photograph is it? It's this photograph.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Who is
That's
that
when I got my hair cut. So it's just one length. You know? It's like,
So what band is this now?
the
this
band was
is-
called Tribal Electric.
Okay.
Oh, that's the
Sort of
shirt
sound-
that you're on.
Sort of sounded like Cult, but maybe a little heavier. Early '90s, so like kind of grungy hard rock band. You know? It was a good band though.
So are any of these guys still musicians today?
I still like write songs and do
I'm
stuff
not
like
thinking
that.
about you, but thinking about these three other guys.
Yeah. So I'm getting it.
What the hell are those other guys? Don't give me shit about them.
So the guy all the way on the
Who are these guys?
the guy all the way on the left is Mark De Jesus.
Yeah.
Back then, his name was Bonsai. We used to call him Bonsai. He still plays drums. He's an amazing hard rock drummer. He still plays in clubs and he's at everything and knows everybody. He's like us with skateboarding. He's that way with local bands. He knows everything. The gentleman in the back was a real creative, like guitar music writing person. He's passed away. He passed away when he was like 40.
Wow.
And the guy up front, actually the three guys other than the guy in the back, we played it all together for a while, like another band, and I played a long time with that bass player guy from Jimmy Peak.
Yeah.
And he has Peak Cycles. He builds custom bicycles, like almost like a motorcycle custom bicycles, you know, crazy paint jobs, wide tires, like he has a whole big thing going though. Like, yeah, he has a similar thing to me, but I mean, he has shows in Vegas and he's going to have a big get together here in San Diego, and he's got a huge following on these bikes, you know. Yeah. Super nice guy.
Awesome. Well, I know. I see on Facebook when you put your songs out there and stuff.
Yeah, just you know, acoustically do it.
Yeah, that's rad.
Thanks.
Last photo.
Okay.
There you go.
Anyway, well, Dash, man, thank you. Thanks for coming by.
Be here all night
doing it. Right?
Let's order some food.
Hey, happy birthday too, man.
You too.
Yeah, got a birthday coming up in another
the 20th.
2 weeks, less than 2
Yours
weeks.
is the 18th.
Yeah. Yeah.
People, 18th, 19th, 20th. Everybody's got a birthday in September.
September, man. January.
Yeah.
What the hell are our folks doing, you know?
Why we're in good mood. Party babies.
Christmas time, the whole bit. But anyway, I do want to thank everybody for listening to us. Everybody on YouTube, if you could hit subscribe or like, that would be really helpful. We do appreciate it. And gosh, had a fun show. It was awesome.
I could sit here all night.
Yeah.
Great talking to you.
Yeah. I learned a lot tonight. You know, the stories about Jay and everybody is amazing.
That's
you know,
nice. That's so important.
So I mean, that's in the very beginning with Alva. Everybody. That's totally awesome. So
I'm happy to be there.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah.
Anyway, everybody, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the show. Have a great night.